Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Sir Coach Shows Off Pathfinder 2e. For today's episode, I wanted to look at Barbarian. What part of Barbarians do I actually want to look at? I want to look at their instincts. Plenty of people have already looked at their instincts before, but I want to do it in a slightly different way. I want to break down what every instinct provides, including what feats are available, and what they actually do for you. To help out with this, I've actually created a little bit of a spreadsheet. So let's take a look at it. Here we have the 6 different instincts available to barbarians in Pathfinder 2e. We have the animal instinct, the dragon instinct, the fury instinct, the giant instinct, the spirit instinct, and the superstition instinct. You always will choose these at level 1 when you're choosing your class. And with this, you'll get a few bonuses and a few holdbacks called anathema. The way this table is set up, I show the attack rating that you'll have, assuming you max out your strength. I'm not including weapon potency runes on here. So this is your assumed attack roll bonus at these given levels if you maxed out your strength bonus with your ability boost. I also show when you get trained, expert, master, along with weapon specialization and greater weapon specialization. I have those included in there because those actually play a very important role for barbarians. And then I also have, at level 9, barbarians get resistance to damage based off of their instinct. Let's take a look at these. The easiest thing to keep in mind for a barbarian is they like to do damage. So you'll notice with each of these columns, for each instinct, I have a damage column. And this is the bonus damage that a barbarian deals while raging. All classes get a little bit of bonus damage from weapon specialization and then greater weapon specialization. Barbarians also get damage bonus from their rage. And depending on what rage type you go with, that's going to change that a lot. Animal instinct is one of the lowest damage dealers out there. And they only get 2 bonus damage when raging. That is the default. This extra damage type is going to be based off of whatever animal you choose, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. You'll get 2 bonus damage for all your attacks while raging. Once you hit 7th level and you get weapon specialization, this increases to 7 bonus damage. Once you hit 13th level and become a master with your weapon, this only goes up to 8 damage. So it's only an increase of 1. But then once you hit greater weapon specialization, this jumps a lot. Just those 2 levels, and it jumps to 18 bonus damage. That might sound amazing, but that's actually the weakest of the instincts. On here, you can see the dragons start at 4 bonus. And this is going to be bonus damage based off whatever element of dragon you are dealing. And you'll see all the different charts here. They go up to 22 bonus damage. The Fury, they do a little bit more damage in the middle than the animal, but at the end, they're still just doing 18. The Giant does the most damage. They start at a bonus 6. At level 7, they'll be doing 12 bonus damage. At 13th, as is always the case, they'll do 1 more damage than they would have been doing. And then once they get to 15th level, they're doing 24 bonus damage with every swing. The Spirit, they're not the weakest. They do 1 point more damage than the other 2 weaker ones, but they're nowhere near the strongest. And then there's Superstition. This one, if you are going against a person who casts spells, you get this bonus damage on this side. If it is against somebody who does not cast spells, you get a lot less. So you can see that you're actually not gaining a lot of bonus damage for a Superstition Barbarian. They do get a few extra bonuses, saves versus spells, so that's helpful, but the Superstition Barbarian is going to be the least damaging Barbarian variant. The other thing that limits you when you have chosen your instinct is a few of the feats. So all of the feats I have listed here are limited based off of instinct. The animal instinct has animal skin, animal rage, and predator's pounce. Those 3 feats are locked to the animal instinct. Dragon has these 4, Fury just has this 1, Giant has these 3, Spirit has these 3, Superstition has these 3. We'll come to those in a moment about what each of those does. The last part of this table I want to bring your attention to is here at level 9. So at level 9, barbarians gain Raging Resistance. So they get resistance equal to 3 plus their Constitution modifier versus particular types of damage. The animal instinct will get resistance to piercing and slashing damage. Great. The dragon, again, that'll be based off whatever dragon you chose. You'll get resistance to that type of damage that what dragon would do. Fury, you're only resistant to physical weapon damage dice. So if there's something beyond those, you don't get it. This is one of the slightly weaker aspects for the Fury. Giant is one of the slightly odder ones. You are resistant to bludgeoning damage and either cold, electric, or fire damage. Your choice when you get that class feature. Spirit Instinct. Well, the simple portion is that you're resistant to all negative damage. The more interesting aspect for it is you're also resistant to any attack or spells or abilities from an undead source. If a lich is casting spells at you, you're resistant to all damage from that lich. Very good if you're going into an undead campaign. And then Superstition. You can choose 2 traditions, and it's actually limited. You can't choose any combination. We'll take a look at it in a moment, and you'll see that you're limited to certain combinations, and you get resistance to any spells cast from that tradition. Either of those 2. So again, Superstition is probably one of the weakest ones, and we'll definitely see why it's even weaker when we look at the Anathema. So now let's go ahead and take a look at the Animal Instinct. This one is one of the more open-ended. You can choose any of these types of animals, and it'll give you unarmed attacks. Great. They have their own traits, they have their own damage set. Anathema. You cannot disrespect the animal of that type. So if I'm going with cat, whether it's leopard, lion, whatever, can't disrespect that animal. If I do, I lose all my abilities. I'll have to go atone. It's a whole big thing. You also gain a few extra traits on your rage action, and then your specialization ability, where most of your damage goes up. The damage die size for all of your unarmed attacks go up by 1 step. So those D10s turn into D12s. Those D6s into D8s. And that D4 into a D6. And then the frog's tongue and the deer's antlers. So the antlers will go to a D12 and gain reach. And then the frog tongue will go to a D6 and also gain reach. So keep that in mind. Those things happen when you get your specialization ability at level 7. And as I say before, you resist piercing and slashing damage. So that's what this one provides. What are the 3 feats that we saw that are associated with it? Animal Skin. So unarmored defense increases to expert immediately. When you are raging and unarmored, hence why your unarmored proficiency went up, you gain an item bonus to your AC from your thick hide. And then it also increases if you get the graded Juggernaut class feature. Your dexterity modifier does get clapped at +3. To be honest, most barbarians probably aren't going to be dealing with a high dexterity score. And you can add armor potency ruins, explorer's clothing, mage armor, bracer's armor. Those can all be combined with this. And it's specified. If you're going animal instinct, this is a really good feat to go with. Next option, animal rage. It is an action. See, it has concentrate, instinct, polymorph, primal, rage, transmutation. Transform into your animal. You gain the effects of your 3rd level animal form, except use your own statistics, temporary hit points, and unarmed attacks instead of those granted by animal form. You also retain the constant abilities of your gear. So any ruins or anything like that, magic items you keep. If your animal is a frog, your tongue reaches to 15 feet. Frog gets an extra reach. One thing you might note is this has a concentrate tag, which often if you have rage, you can't do anything with a concentrate tag. Or trait, sorry. Unless it also has the rage trait. So since this has the rage trait, you still can do it even though it has. And then the 3rd feat for the animal instinct is Predator's Pounce. This is an open. So has to be your first item that you're doing with an attack trait. Okay. It's also Flourish. So you can't do it twice. I'm not sure why I gave it both of these. So it has the open trait. So which means you can't do it unless you've... Yeah, it doesn't make sense why you have both. Because open means you can use an open only if you haven't used an action with attack or open trait yet this turn. Which means if you've already used Predator's Pounce once this turn, well, you can't do it again because it has the open trait. That just seems weird. You're unarmored or wearing light armor. Okay, if you're taking animal skin, you're unarmored. You close the distance to your prey in a blur, pouncing on creatures before it can react. You stride up to your speed and make a strike at the end of your movement. You get 2 actions for 1 action. Great action to call. So those are the 3 feats associated with the animal instinct. The next instinct, dragon, which a lot of people think of immediately. You choose one of your dragons. You have the cold, fire, poison, electric, acid. Those are, whatever you choose, that's going to determine your resistance. You also will have the access to a breath weapon eventually. That's one of the feats. And it determines what type of breath weapon you'll end up getting. The anathema. you get a second choice here. So you've already chosen your type of dragon. Now you have to choose, do you revere them or do you abhor them? If you revere them, well, you need to respect them, just like the animal instinct. If you abhor them, well, failing to defeat such a dragon, if you come across it, is your anathema. Now, if you see a ancient worm when you're a level 1 character, you know it is literally impossible for you to defeat it, but you need to be planning to defeat it. You can't just say, oh, I just can't deal with it, bye. You need to be thinking, okay, I'm coming back here, I'm taking that dragon out. So keep that in mind. Now, Draconic Rage. You get your bonus damage. You also get a choice. So when you're raging, you can increase your damage from that and change its damage type to match that of your dragon's weapon instead of the damage type for your weapon or unarmed attack. So every time you rage, let's say go with Black Dragon. I do acid damage, or I can stick with the damage for my weapon. So if they are resistant to acid, I'm just going to stick with my weapon damage dice. Oh, it's a trolls or something has weakness to acid. Definitely going to go to acid this time. It's a nice, fun choice for you to deal with. Beyond that, they get the basic aspects here. And you resist piercing damage and the damage type of the dragon's breath weapon. So I forgot to put piercing damage, I believe, on the table. So let me rectify that real quick. So piercing and the dragon element. Alright, so Dragon Instinct's pretty simplistic in that regard. So it's the feats that come with them. Draconic Arrogance. You can sway... few can sway you from your goals while your further combat fills you. While raging, you gain +2 bonus on saving effects against emotion effects. Okay. To be honest, I haven't seen too many emotion effects used in lower level, but it might be helpful. The main reason why people take Dragon Instinct, Dragon Breath. So, you can only use it once per rage. That's one of the downsides to that. So for this one, it's going to either be a 30-foot cone or a 60-foot line. And it does 1d6 damage per level. And you're level 6 already. So it's 6d6. And as you level up, it gets more and more and more. And keep in mind, it's concentrate and rage, so you're fine. And again, the line and the type of damage is based off the dragon you chose at level 1. Now, here's one of the interesting things. If you have used this ability in the last hour, the area and damage are halved. Okay? And then it's a basic reflex save in order to not take the damage. Or basic reflex save. So they crit fail, they take double damage. Fail, they take full. Succeed normal, or succeed half damage. And critical success, they take no damage. Alright? So, Dragon Breath, it's always fun. Dragon Rage Wings. Alright, level 12. So you sprout dragon wings from your back, the same color as your chosen dragon. So if you abhor them, you're going to start looking like the thing you abhor. So while raging, you gain a fly speed equal to your land speed. Now, if you are flying when your rage ends, you start to fall, but the transformation only completes at the last moment, so you take no damage from the fall and land standing up. So even if you're flying and you end up at 2-3 miles above the ground, your transformation's really slow and you'll just land on the ground nice and safe. Not a huge fan of that. It takes away a little bit of risk from it, but that's up to you as a DM to decide if you want to do that differently. But rules as written, you can be up 5 miles, transformation ends, and you'll land safely on the ground standing up. And then level 16, you can take Dragon Transformation. This one requires that you have taken the wings. So not only does it require Dragon Instincts, but it requires you to have taken the Dragon Rage's wings. So, effects of the 6th level Dragon form. Except that you use your own AC and attack modifiers. And you apply extra damage from rage. And the breath weapon uses your class DC. And at 18th level, you go slightly faster, and you get a few extra bonuses for your attacks. Great. So those are the 4 feats available for Dragon Instinct Barbarian. Then there's the Fury Instinct. Here's the person who just doesn't have a backstory set up, or anything like that, and doesn't care about it. You're not going to be doing more damage. This is just the bare bones. So this one, you don't have an anathema. So you don't really care about doing the things one way or the other. But you do gain a bonus first level barbarian feat. Now you're limited out to any of the instinct feats, but there's not too many of those as we have seen. Specialization, you get more damage. And raising resistance, your physical weapon damage. That's it. But not physical damage from other sources. So punching you are not resistant to it. Spiked gauntlets, yeah, you're resistant to. But regular punch, no. I'm not sure why they put that restriction in there, but it's in there. And that's it for the Fury Instinct. They get 1 feat. Furious Vengeance. It's a reaction. So, an enemy within your reach critically hits you with a melee strike. Alright? Make a melee strike against them. That's it. It's not horrible. You have ways to get attack of opportunity, being Barbarian. But it's not a bad reaction to have in your pocket. So somebody critically hits you, you get to hit them. So if somebody's critically hitting you, there's chances are they're not going to be leaving air around you. So you might not be able to use attack of opportunity when they leave. So it's not a bad thing to have in your back pocket. Giant Instinct. Now, this one's a little bit different from the dragon and animal. It's not so much that you abhor or revere giants. The anathema for this one is failing to face a personal challenge of strength. And it's not necessarily beating a personal challenge. So if somebody challenges you to arm wrestling and they beat you, well, that's fine. If somebody challenges you to arm wrestle and you just say no, then that will actually break your anathema. Okay? So keep that in mind. Now, the Titan Mauler aspect for the Giant Instinct. That bonus damage I was showing you was based off following this rule. And they do the most damage. But they only do it if they are using a weapon that is bigger than their size category in general. Okay? So, if you're small or medium, you have to be using a large size weapon. If you're not small or medium, you have to be using a weapon built for a creature one size larger than you. And you gain access to it, so you don't have to worry about GM removal for that. Alright? It doesn't give you extra... The weapon damage size is not increased, but you do get your rage bonus from it. So instead of doing a basic 2 rage bonus damage, you'd be doing 6. Now the downside to this, you become clumsy 1 while wielding that weapon. Even when you're not raging. Just when you're wielding that weapon, you become clumsy 1. And clumsy basically gives you a status penalty to all dexterity-based things. So any skills, saves, and armor class. Now keep in mind, when you are raging, you also get additional -1 to your AC. So, the Giant Instinct will essentially always have 2 lower AC while raging, compared to any other basic class. And against any other Barbarian, they'll have 1 lower AC. But they're doing a lot more damage. And as I stated before, they get bonus damage for specialization, and then they resist bludgeoning and either cold, electric, or fire. Their choice. And their feats. Giant Stature. 1 action. Available at level 6. And if you are medium or smaller, is the requirement for this one. You become large. And increase your reach by 5 feet. That's it. You gain Clumsy 1 condition. which guess what? You already had it, so it's not that big of an issue. And your equipment grows in size with you. So you're going to be taking up a 2x2 square area and have reach. So you'll be threatening a good portion of the board. Then, at level 12, Titan stature, which you have to have giant stature to take. You grow even bigger. You become huge. And increase your feet reach by 10 feet if you were medium or smaller while you're raging. And again, clumsy 1. So now you are taking up a 3x3 square area, and you can reach out an additional 3 squares beyond that. It's kind of ludicrous how much area you are affecting at this point. And in case you want to be more ludicrous, Giant's Lunge, available at 14. 1 action, you extend your body and prepare to attack foes outside your normal reach. Until the range ends, all your melee weapons and unarmed attacks gain reach 10. Now, this doesn't include the reach of any weapons or unarmed attacks that already has a reach trait. But it does combine with abilities that increase your reach due to increased size, such as the Giant's nature. So, you'll have your reach increased by 10, and then you can give your weapons reach 10. Yes, this is ridiculous. You will be able to touch everyone in combat with unarmed attacks if you want. Now, you probably shouldn't be using unarmed attacks if you're a giant instinct barbarian. But, oh look, I'm using a dagger. I can hit you from 25 feet away in melee. If anybody even tries to move around you, guess what? If you have attack of opportunity, nobody on that battlefield's moving. Or you kill them. Alright. Spirit Instinct. So, this one. The anathema. Disrespecting corpses or spirits is anathema to your instinct. But defending yourself against undead creatures is not. So, keep in mind, it's corpses and spirits. So once you defeat an undead, no, you can't desecrate the body. You shouldn't be desecrating corpses. You shouldn't be tomb raiding. Those things are bad for you. But if undead creatures are attacking you, yes, you can fight them off. Now, Spirit Rage. This is one of the fun ones. For this one, you can increase the damage from 2 to 3 and change this damage type to negative or positive. And instead of the damage type for the weapon or unarmed attack. And you choose this each time you rage. So, I'm fighting living things? Negative damage. I'm fighting something I'm not sure if it's dead or alive? Let's just stick with standard damage. I'm fighting undead. Positive damage. Now, additionally, if you're dealing negative or positive damage, your weapon or armed attack gain the effects of Ghost Touch. So, this makes it so undead and uncorporeal creatures might take more damage because of some sort of weakness against that. Alright. And then you get a few extra traits as appropriate. Specialization, nothing much. And as I said, you get resistance to negative damage, as well as damage dealt by the attacks and abilities of undead creatures, regardless of the damage type. So, that's just flat good, especially if you're dealing with an undead campaign. Spiritual Guides. Level 4, Reaction. Fortune Effect. So, you fail, but don't critically fail a perception check or a skill check. Then once per day, though no one sees them and only you can hear them, the spirits around you constantly chatter, save you when you're raging. Sometimes they're even helpful. You can heed the spirit's guidance to reroll the trigger effect using the second result, even if it's worse. So, a free reroll on a skill or perception check once per day. Not bad. Spirit's Interference. Level 6, 1 action. You call forth protective spirits to ward off ranged attacks. Until your rage ends, anyone making a ranged attack against you must succeed at a flat 5 DC check or the attack misses. So this is just making it so 20% attacks against you at range just miss. That is really good And this lasts until your rage ends. So if you do this turn 1 and there's 10 archers, this is going to make one of those attacks, or 2 of those attacks, every single time just miss. Just from this. And that's not even counting the people who are going to miss anyway. So this is actually a pretty good feat. Spirit's Wrath, level 12. You call forth an ethereal apparition, typically the ghost of an ancestor or a nature spirit, which takes the form of a wisp. The spirit wisp makes melee wisp attack modifier is equal to your bonus from martial weapons plus your strength, plus a +2 item bonus. So it's going to be about the same bonus as yours. And it applies the same circumstance, status, and all those things that you have. On a hit, it deals damage equal to 4d8 plus your constitution modifier. The damage is your choice of negative or positive. You don't get your rage bonus damage on this. Okay, so keep that in mind. If the wisp is a critical hit, your target becomes frightened. The attack uses and counts towards your multiple attack as if you were the one attacking. So this gives you a 120-foot ranged attack that does 4d8. Not horrible. Not quite the best thing out there, but it's pretty good. And the final instinct, Superstition. So, the Anathema. So, willing and accepting the effects of magic spells, including from scrolls, wands, and the likes. Even from allies. You can drink potions and invest and activate most magic items you find, though items that cast spells are subject to the same restrictions. And here's the downside. If an ally insists on using magic on you despite your unwillingness, and you have no reason to believe they will stop, continuing to travel with that ally of your own free will counts as willingly accepting their spells, and thus is also anathema to your instinct. And that right there, oh, my party has a spellcaster, and they're the healer. You can't take any help from them, period. That is what makes this the worst. The bonus rage damage only applies to creatures that can cast spells. Again, slightly weak. Now, while raging, you do get +2 bonus on your saving throws against all magic. Awesome. Basic bonus. This does actually increase against other creatures that don't cast spells as well. It's still pretty weak, though. And then, as I stated before, you can choose Arcane and Occult, Arcane and Primal, Divine and Occult, or Divine and Primal. Those are the only options you have for combinations. You can't do Arcane and Divine, or Occult and Primal. You cannot do those 2 combinations. And then you get resistance to those based off that. I'm not sure why they do have that restriction on those, but they do. Alright, Mage Hunter. Reaction, level 6. Somebody within your reach casts a spell. Great. You lash out at the spellcast, allowing you to attempt to interrupt the spell. Make a melee strike against the creature. If you critically hit, you disrupt the spell. Okay. Not horrible, not great. Casting a spell, you get attack of opportunity. Yay. Sunder Spell at level 12. 2 actions. Draw upon your Superstition Fury to destroy a spell. Make a strike with a melee weapon or unarmed attack against creature, object, or spell manifestation. And depending on what it is, you'll be easy to hit. If the strike hits, you can attempt to counteract a single spell of magical effect on the target. Your counteract level for this attempt is equal to half your level rounded up. And you use the attack roll for the counteract check. And then they're temporarily immune for 24 hours regardless of what your check was. It's alright. And then level 14 requires Sunder Spell. You can focus your Superstition to break the magic of an item in addition to destroying freestanding spells and those active on creatures. When you Sunder a spell, you can instead attempt to counteract either an unattended magic item or one of your target's magic items. If your counteract attempt succeeds, the item becomes a one-day item for 10 minutes. If you target an artifact or intelligent item or a particularly powerful item, your counteract attempt automatically fails. I will say that this is probably the weakest of the instincts. If you do want to go the Magic Hunter route, it's not horrible. Self-plug, I'd assess looking at the Mage Hunter archetype that I've put together. That is slightly more open. That is the 6 different instincts for Barbarians in Pathfinder 2e. Hopefully this has been helpful and helps you make an interesting choice for determining what type of Barbarian you want to play. Alright, and this is Sir Coach signing off.